Beerzerker! Innis Gunn Malt Whisky Trail. Rich ale matured in casks from the 5 malt whisky regions of Scotland. This is done in the 90 shilling style of Scottish beer. 7.4%. This is the limited run. And Scotland, of course, known for its Scotch whiskey, single malt Scotch whiskey. So we're going to try a beer that's been blended in Scotch casks from those 5 regions, producing those 5 different styles of Scotch whiskey. It's a toffee colored beer, being their 90 shilling style malt body here. But nowadays we're aging it in these Scotch casks, which I was kind of waiting for this for a long time for them to come out with this, and they finally did it. Innis Gunn being a Scottish beer company, you think they'd do Scotch? They had the Irish whiskey, rum finish, you know, all the different Innises. Alright, mega smoke there. The original done in a bourbon cask, which I thought was a little bit odd. And the last one I did was out of a brown bottle, which was the pale ale, which I really liked a lot. And so you weren't getting any bottle skunkage. But here again, we're in the clear bottle. So a lot of people have problems, but we were in cardboard box, right? So should be no bottle skunkage here. Okay, getting mega toffee off of this, a lot more than even the original. This is just like, it's like caramel, you know. Smelling a little bit of soot, probably from the charred inner cavity of these barrels. Just a lot of soot and a lot of sugary caramel. More so than I've ever smelled out of any beer at any time, ever. Whew. Wow. It tastes exactly like it smells. And when it comes to Scotch, and I'm not a huge Scotch fan, but I do like the sweeter Scotches. I do not like dry Scotch. It tastes a bit like gasoline, but I'm picking up a lot of the sweet characteristics from the sweeter Scotches that I've tried, which I do like quite a bit. There's a gnat in here. Okay, this is a sipping beer, and it's got a lot of presence, as Innis usually does, and very low head. Most in it, well, any of the Innises I've had have very low, low carb heads. Well, this is very rich and very heavy. Just from the Scotch flavor alone, you're definitely picking up the swish. If you've ever had swish, I've had swish from a barrel from Black Velvet, believe it or not, where water was rolled around in this Black Velvet cask. I didn't think Black Velvet would use a cask. That's just what I was told. It was Black Velvet, which is like the worst whiskey that's, I believe there's some distilled in Lethbridge. And it was actually not bad. And if it was, I'm pretty sure it was from Black Velvet. It was far superior than their whiskey. But it was clear, and you do pick a lot of that type of swish because it's coming out back out of the oak again, pulling the alcohol and everything back out. There's nothing quite like swish. Yeah, very rich. I don't know if I'll be able to finish this review, and I don't want to spend too much time on a beer review because this is definitely a beer you want to enjoy and sip. It's in a category, in a league all of its own, only comparable with other beers are finished in spirit barrels or whatever. But it is similar in experience to some of the ESBs and that, where you're kind of getting that type of body out of the beer and that type of kind of flavor where you just want to sip it. But it's not an ESB at all. Carefully matured for 60 days before release. Wow. And there's lots of information on here. I just hate to sit here and read to you, but there's all the history on where they've sourced these Scotch barrels from, and the different regions of Scotland. Describing to you what the 90 shilling style of ale is. Only the richest. Anyway, the British were able to tax this style of beer for whatever, for 90 shillings or something like that, because it was the highest quality Scottish ale or whatever. So very low head, but it does lace a little bit, on the way down. Very rich, toasty. But that whiskey in the aftertaste. But to me, it's just almost like it's like maybe there's not too many dimensions to the beer. It is kind of complex, but in the way, to me, it's basically you're getting like the sooty mouthfeel of it, and you're getting the sweetness and the caramel, and you're getting the whiskey, which are all a little bit more complex than that. But you're kind of getting it in those three phases, And then there's the mouthfeel. As for a rate, well, it's pretty good. And I'm always a fan of most of what Innis puts out. It's a tough one. Not exactly my favorite beer in the world, but it is definitely a special experience, and it's a once in a while thing. For me, I've had much worse whiskey cask aged beers than what Innis puts out. I'm feeling it as a 9. It's at least a 9 out of 11. So either that or it could be perfect for you, but I would never see it being much below a 9 unless you hate Scotch or you hate beer aged in whiskey casks. Then why would you buy it? Sort of thing. So I say it's at least a 9, and it's a very enjoyable. It's a 10-minute review, but you're gonna spend 10 minutes on this beer, so I'm gonna 9 it, and you're probably gonna 9 it too. Beerzerker, I'm out.